Good morning, and welcome into another episode of Morning Glory. I decided to take last week off just because we've cracked 20 episodes now, so I do think I was deserving of 1 week off, right? And to be honest, I had a few good reasons. I've recently just had a root canal, and I'd not had an episode ready for this week yet, so I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna feel up to it and feel up to talking a bunch straight after having a root canal. So there was that, and also the week prior, I went to Mighty Hoopla. Now, this episode once again is going to be very music based. If you haven't noticed by now, I do obviously love music. I love to talk about music. Realistically, if you're new, hello, I'm Brad. This is Morning Glory. Welcome to my podcast. But if you're new, you won't know, but I did used to do music reactions, so I do sometimes feel the void of that now not being the case. So to fill that void, this is what I tend to do, because I still like to chat about music with you guys, and you seem to enjoy it. So this is going to be another music-centric episode, so if you're not into music, I apologise, but hopefully you're here just to, you might get some recommendations here, you might learn about some new artists that you might enjoy, because I'm going to recommend a few new stuff to you guys if you're interested, because I like to think that my taste, although it might not be for everybody, I do think I have quite a variety in taste. I used to love like just one or two artists, but these days I really allow myself just to indulge in an abundance. The more the merrier, very much that, right? So yeah, so I'm sorry that there wasn't an episode last week, but we're back again now, on the up, ready for 20 more, right? I'm very pleased with myself because this is me breaking my record in terms of my last podcast up to now. So we're already doing better, and I'm hoping the other 20 go flawlessly. I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. So yeah, thanks for 20 episodes. If you've been here for every single episode, I guess if you're watching on YouTube, comment down below if you've watched every episode up to now, because that's loyalty, that is. But anyway, as I hit on, I did go to Mighty Hoopla last week, which was actually my first ever festival. I'm not a festival goer usually. They scare me a little bit. Not so much now that I've been to one, but prior to going, the fun of it and the outfits and the music, that side of it, that's not scary. What's scary to me is like a lot of the drug use that I think happens a lot, and like that kind of culture, especially those kind of festivals where you're staying over, like you're in a tent, that whole thing. Like I heard a lot growing up about like Leeds Fest and stuff, and how they can be like kind of grotty, which, don't get me wrong, there were parts of this experience that were definitely grotty. A pretty low experience in some parts, but we're going to quickly talk about it, and then we're going to get into some stuff that's like come out recently that I want to talk about and kind of almost review, to be honest, since I'm not doing reactions. And then we're also going to end off the episode with a bunch of unpopular opinions on music-related topics. So whether that's artists, certain songs, albums, the industry, all that kind of thing, right? I've got a bunch of them. I asked you guys for them maybe a month or two ago, and I never got around to using them in an episode. So yeah, we're going to end the episode off with that. Hello, sorry, this is Brad from the future, just coming in to tell you that actually will be coming next week, because this episode was long enough without that. So we're going to do a full episode next week on unpopular music opinions. So I'll see you then. So that's what you've got to expect this episode. I'm not sure if you guys enjoy knowing what to expect, but there you are. Right, there's your index. Is that what it's called? Isn't it? Is it index or context? Context. Contents? Might be contents. Okay. So first of all, Mighty Hoopla, let's get into it. So I was debating whether to go to Mighty Hoopla just because I knew Liam, who was going, and that's who I planned to go with. But that was it. That's the only person I knew in a close friend kind of way, but he had an abundance of friends also going. So I was a bit in two minds about going, but I was like, you know what? I think I'd got to the point where I'd been obviously living alone for so long. I'd not seen Liam in ages. I'd not seen many of my friends in a while, to be honest. And I think I almost got too comfortable in my own environment to the point where I was like almost self-sabotaging in a way, because what's the worst that's gonna happen? You know, it's gonna be fun. If I don't enjoy it, I can just leave. That's kind of where I went with it. Like, I'm an adult now. I think a lot of times I forget that I have free will, you know? And like, if I go to something, I can just choose to leave if I'm not enjoying myself. And I think that's totally fine. But I mean, who knows? Maybe that's a thing that a lot of people feel. But like, that's what was most daunting, was that like if I went and I didn't enjoy it, like I almost felt as though I was forced to be there, which is not the case. Like no one was going to force me to stay anywhere. You know, like I am an adult. I have free will. I have a hotel of my own that I can go back to. I don't like, if I had to rely on Liam for like accommodation, then it'd be a bit different, you know? Like if I was staying at Liam's, then that'd be different. But I have my own hotel. So there was nothing keeping me at the festival if I wasn't enjoying myself, right? So overall, I basically decided I'm gonna go. Right, it was quite last minute. I think I decided maybe a week or two in advance. So it was a pretty quick turnaround. Booked a hotel, which was a lovely hotel. I will give them a shout out. Not that like this is sponsored in any way, obviously, but just in case you guys were in London, I highly recommend. I stayed at Bob W Studios or something, and it's essentially like a little apartment thing. Like you get your kitchen, you get your bathroom, obviously, you get a TV, you get a little wardrobe, you get a lovely bed. But guys, I will say, as far as little apartments go, there was a lot of freebies involved, which realistically I probably paid for as part of the price, because it wasn't a cheap little accommodation. I won't lie there, it wasn't cheap. But the way I work is like, that's one thing I will splurge on. Accommodation is one thing I will go a little bit more above and beyond for, just because I really like, if I'm in a different city, I at least want to feel comfortable in an environment where I'm going to be sleeping, you know? So that is one thing I will splurge on. So it's not the most cheap, but I will say for the price, like, there was a lot of freebies involved. The actual aesthetic of the place is very chic. There's no check-in thing, so you just get a code that they send you the day before, and that's how you get in and out. So you haven't got to speak to anybody to check in, which I will say I did have a bit of a trouble getting into it the first day, just because my code wasn't working for some reason. But I did message them and they sorted it right out. So can't knock them there. The customer service was on point. And I also will say sustainability, that was also on 10. Like, a lot of sustainable choices. Like, they gave you free water bottles that were obviously like reusable, that we had to obviously return to the place, but like you could use them throughout your whole stay. They gave you a free tote bag. They had a Polaroid in there with film in it, and you could use that at no extra cost. So best believe we used all 10 of those films. Um, what else? Like, there was just a bunch of like really nice, sustainable, economic things, like a bunch of free coffee, all of which were like sustainably sourced, and like the toilet roll sustainable. Like, it was a very eco-friendly thing, which I also think kind of justifies the price a little bit more as well. Like, the like generally sustainable choices in terms of decor and whatnot can be more expensive. So fair play to them. So yeah, accommodation 10 out of 10. Right, we'll start there. Then obviously I went down on the Friday, and I was staying all the way until the Tuesday. Right, I'm going to take you through my whole weekend. Okay. So I went down on the Friday. I had plans to see one of my friends from uni who I'd not seen in fucking forever. Me and this girl, obviously we went to uni together, as I mentioned, but we weren't really that close throughout maybe first and second year. It wasn't until third year that we actually got quite close, because we got a duet together for grad. So the way our uni worked was, in your third year, you do a bunch of grad shows. So basically, choreographers will be brought in, as well as obviously existing teachers at the school. They'll be brought in and they'll basically cast certain members out of your year. Now, guys, there was a bunch of fuckery in terms of casting, and like there was a piece that was ballet that I should have been in, right? Not to blow my own horn, but I was one of the more talented men in terms of ballet in my year. So there was a bunch of like fuckery around that, like where the casting was just like a bit all over the place and made no sense. Like, it's a ballet piece, right? To me, it makes no sense why we'd cast someone who can't even straighten their knees, you know? But that's just me, that's just my opinion. So There was a bunch of fuckery in terms of casting, but I'm not going to go into it because that's not important. But basically, me and this girl ended up doing a duet, a ballet duet, right? For grad. And the way that came about was, once again, a bunch of fuckery because I wasn't cast. And I don't think she was cast either originally. I don't think so. Guys, if you want to hear more uni stories, there's a bunch of shit that went down in uni. So let me know. Because I think the uni experience, especially for dancers, it's not all it's cracked up to be sometimes, okay? I've got issues that I didn't have before from uni. But anyway, so essentially the way this duet came about, I wasn't cast and I was relatively close with my ballet teacher, who I really got along with. He was lovely. Um, and I think that was also because I was, like I said, one of the more talented men in terms of ballet. So he could kind of count on me for doing a good job, right? But I wasn't cast originally. It was these two other boys, because they wanted to do two different duets and then they could kind of alternate each night. So it wasn't like one duet being on every single time. So they chose these other two boys and these other two girls. And then Chris came to me and was like, why were you not cast? Because funnily enough, he was obviously a teacher that was already at the school. He didn't get the choice as to who was cast, which I think is quite fucked up. Like, he's the one creating the duet and teaching the duet, but he wasn't allowed to choose who did it, which is fucked. And that wasn't the normal thing that happened. But I also know that there was a bunch of things in terms of like the faculty that like they didn't get along. I don't think, like Chris and other parts of the faculty members. And I know that he didn't last very long after I'd left until he left. So maybe that was why. But yeah, basically like other faculty members that weren't ballet teachers chose who did this duet, right? And it wasn't me and it wasn't Molly. I can shout Molly out. Hi, Molly. Um, it was these two other people, or maybe it was Molly. I think Molly actually did get picked. She was one of the girls, but I wasn't picked. It was two other guys. And then Chris comes to me, he's like, why didn't you get picked? And I was like, beats me, babes. Beats fucking me. Because I'm sorry, like there's certain ones you can kind of count on getting, and I think that's the whole beauty of it. Because there's a bunch of different styles going on, and ballet pieces were kind of something I counted on myself getting because, like I said, I was good at ballet. Okay, so Chris was like, "Well, there's no harm in you coming along to the rehearsals and kind of being like an understudy to these boys." And I was like, bit of a smack in the what is this? What is it called? A smack in the teeth? Not sure. Bit of a slap in the face, right? To be an understudy to these boys. But I was like, fair enough. I've got no ego here. Why not? I'll come along. I may as well learn it. Lo and behold, one of the boys decided he didn't want to do it and it was too much for him. And the other one faked an injury. So, lo and behold, I was now the guy doing the duet and only me. And then turns out me and Molly were then obviously put together because her partner was one of the boys, obviously, that didn't want to do it. Her partner was the one that faked his injury. So she got put with me because for a while then it was like me with Molly and then these other two, but then the other guy decided that he didn't want to do it later down the line, if that makes sense. So then it ended up just being me and Molly. We slayed, guys. I'm not gonna lie. We slayed this duet. Now, I'd not done proper pas de deux, which is like proper partnering in ballet before. Obviously, we did classes every week, but I never actually done like, like lifts above my head and like all this stuff. Like, guys, some of the shit that I did in this duet, I can probably be putting it on screen as well, like without the song, obviously, because I'll get copywritten, but just for like visual purposes, some of the crazy shit that we had going on in this duet, we slayed it. I'm not going to lie, me and Molly did slay. And through that experience was when we became more and more friends because realistically, we had to kiss on stage. And that's some closeness. Yeah, like she was probably maybe the first woman I've ever kissed, to be honest. So good for Molly. Don't know why I went on that huge tangent, but I hope that was interesting. So all that to say, I met up with Molly on Friday. We had a few drinks. We chilled out. We caught up because I've not seen her in so long. It was absolutely lovely. She's kind of doing her fashion thing now, so she's not dancing anymore. Obviously, I'm not dancing anymore. I'm doing this. So we had a bunch of stuff to catch up on. And yeah, it was just a lovely evening. I had a beer, because guys, I think I'm a beer person now. So that was nice, right? That was Friday. Then Saturday and Sunday was when the festival happened. So woke up on Saturday. Liam was extremely ill. It was like snotty, had a cold, was feeling very, very under the weather and was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, you know what? You can fuck this. I understand you're ill, right? But one, you don't need to drink. Two, we can get you a bunch of medication, we can dope you up. And three, we don't need to, because the plan was to go to Hoopla for I think 2 or 3 o'clock. And I was like, realistically, I don't want to be there until about 5. Because there was nothing on until 5 that I wanted to see. So I was like, to take some of the pressure off, I was like, Liam, we can just go for 5. And then we can always just stay for a few hours. Because the main two that I wanted to see on the first day were Cher Lloyd, and we'll get into Cher Lloyd in a moment, because I don't want to hear any blasphemy, right? Cher Lloyd and Slater. They were my two. And I'm pretty sure Nelly Furtado was also on. And ideally, I think I also wanted to watch Rebecca Black, but we ended up missing her, which was really sad one of the days. I can't remember which day she was on. But we ended up missing her, and I was kind of sad about that because I think Rebecca Black's a slay. But yeah, so I was like, Liam, look, we can chill out, we can go for a coffee, we can eat, we can get you feeling a bit more right, and then we can go and we can at least go for a few hours just so we've like not wasted the day, right? Which worked. We ended up going. We got there just as Cher Lloyd was going on, and I was like, kind of want to go watch her. So watched a little bit of her set before we went and met up with Liam's friends. The outfits were a slay. I'm sorry. I think I really turned my pussy out in terms of the outfits. So the first outfit I was wearing kind of like a double denim moment, but they were like two vastly different shades of blue, so I thought it kind of worked. I was going for quite a like 80s gay denim short kind of aesthetic. Hopefully you can see that in your mind. That's kind of what I went for. I did have a red handkerchief. Is that what it's called? Hanky? In my pocket. Now, I know apparently the pocket that I had it in, I think hanky code wise, it meant that I was into fisting. Wasn't what I was into. I just liked the look of it. So, to anyone thinking I was into fisting, you would be wrong. No shame, obviously, to anybody that enjoys some fisting, but that's not going to happen for me and my tight little yeah. So, the hanky was just aesthetic purposes. So that was the outfit. Went there, saw Cher Lloyd. We didn't get to see her full set, which was kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Now, in terms of Cher Lloyd, I wouldn't say I'm a stan now, because I mean, she's not released much music in a while. But I'm not going to deny that back in the day, from when she came on X Factor, she impacted my life, right? Do you know earlier when I said that I allowed myself to enjoy a few artists, maybe one or two, maybe three artists when I was a child? Cher Lloyd was the one that was like kind of on constant repeat. Her album, Sorry I'm Late, I'm sorry, it kind of holds up to this day, right? It's still good music. Don't get me wrong, there's a few lyrics in some of the songs that I'm like, oh, that didn't age well. Like there's a certain song called I Wish, and T.I. is a feature on that, and he says a bad word during his part, and I'm like, wow, okay, that didn't age. But overall, all that to say, Cher Lloyd makes some great pop music. And what's kind of interesting is growing up, I kind of felt ashamed to like her. And I think part of that was because obviously, like, I think that kind of gave me away as being a bit of a gay boy. It was partly that. And two, I didn't really know of anybody else that was kind of fucking with her because, like, I wasn't big on the internet at the time, whatever. So overall, I was obsessed with Cher Lloyd. Had a bunch of posters by my bed. Loved her. So for my inner child, that's why I really wanted to go and see her, just because I'd never seen her live, and my inner child would just live. And best believe I lived a little bit. Okay. Do I think my taste has evolved since then? For sure. And I can acknowledge that she's not the best of the best by any means, but I can appreciate good pop music, okay? And that's what that was. So I really enjoyed seeing Cher. And then the highlight for me was Slater. Okay, so after Cher, we met up with Liam's friends. We had a few drinks, whatever. We went to a few of like the more techno-y parts of it, which we'll talk about coming up because the second day was much more interesting. So we went to a few of the techno-y bits while we waited for Slater to come on. Slater arrived, watched Slater's full set. Very, very slay. Now, before Hoopla, I wasn't like I wouldn't say a stan of Slater. I just didn't know much about Slater. I'd obviously heard about her before, and I've done reactions, I think, to some of her music before, but it wasn't like She wasn't an artist that I returned to and, like, properly, like, streamed the music, but I knew of her because, I mean, being a part of the gay community, I think it's hard not to know about Slater. So, before then, I was like, "Okay, I wanna get into Slater a bit more," because she was, like, one of the big ones for my friend that he wanted to see, and, like, someone who I was speaking to as well, like, they were like, "Oh, I'm so jealous that you're getting to see Slater." So I was like, "Let me get into her." Guys, her newest album, I think it's called Starfucker, I'm not sure. Everything to me, specifically James Dean, and she performed James Dean, but we were literally walking away as she performed James Dean, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the last songs, which is kinda sad, but we wanted to go to the toilet, and we wanted to beat the crowd, so we did, like, leave as she was singing James Dean, but we were right next to the stage, so I could still hear. But yeah, so Slater was an absolute slay. I've nothing but great things to say. The vocals were on point, the look was on point, just the vibes were immaculate. They really were immaculate. Then after Slater, I think we then returned to, like, more of, like, the techno-y parts where it was, like, kinda just DJs for a while, but guys, it was freezing. The first day, it was freezing, and obviously, I was in little denim short shorts, no sleeves, so I was cold, okay, and I held out as long as I could, and I think we got to maybe 9 o'clock, I think, because we went to Bananarama, and I think they were at 9. But I didn't stay for the full Bananarama set because me and my friend decided we were gonna go, because after Bananarama, it was gonna be Nelly Furtado, and we weren't too bothered about Nelly. Like, I would have liked to have seen her, but I would have rather been home and in bed and warm. So, we didn't see Nelly Furtado, but we saw a bit of Bananarama, they were lovely. I took a little video for my parents, so that was nice. And then we went home, got in bed, chilled out, whatever. I'm pretty sure we ordered pizza. We ordered Papa John's, delicious, can't go wrong. We watched Drag Race, absolutely. Then the next day rolls around. Now, funnily enough, this was the day that Liam was more into, which I think is a little bit sus. I'm going to say it right here, Liam. This is quite sus, this, how you moved here. Because the second day was the day that he was more into, right? And funnily enough, the second day he was magically better. Interesting, if you ask me. Whereas the second day for me wasn't the sleigh. Jojo Siwa was on, so I was a bit intrigued by that. It was Rita Ora and it was Jessie Ware. Now Liam is a huge fan of Jessie Ware, and she was like the last person to perform, which I'm pretty sure was from like 9 till 10:15. And we were going earlier this day because I'm pretty sure, who was it that we wanted to see early? I'm not sure. I think it was just some like techno sets that like Liam and that wanted to watch. The one thing about me is I'm not really a techno person. Now, I will say I had quite a bit of it on the first day, but I think the beauty of the first day was the techno sets that we went to, they were all pretty short. Like, they were all maybe like half an hour long. And there was also like things happening on the stage. Like, I'm pretty sure we saw Polyglamorous on the first day and they were great. But there was like things happening on the stage, so I had something to look at, and like the vibes were still good. Whereas the second day, from when we first got there, like, we went straight to a techno thing because that's what the rest of the group was into, and I didn't have anybody that I wanted to go see. So we went to this techno thing. It wasn't for me. I was kind of bored. It was fucking hot. So, like, the polar opposite. I was in a skirt, guys. I wore a skirt for the first time this weekend, and I love it. I think women, or I guess like female presenting, whatever, they're onto something with skirts. They really are. I think more people should wear skirts because I was absolutely obsessed, right? I felt freedom. I did also feel a little bit on show for the most part of the day, but I had underwear on. Like, I had some nice white Skims briefs, so I didn't feel like everything was out and on show. But skirt, A plus from me. My look in general for the second day, A plus from me. Okay. Once again, I think I slayed with the looks because I didn't want to go tacky. That was one thing for me. I didn't want to go tacky gay. Didn't want to go glitter, rainbows, that kind of thing. No shade to anybody that did that. And I also didn't want to go like skimpy for no reason. Like, I didn't want to go like thong and nothing else for no reason, because that's just not my tea. I wanted to put together a nice cohesive look that had some saucy elements, but I was kind of giving more of like an aesthetic rather than like, I'm in no clothing. You know, it's just not my team. That's all. That's all it is. Okay, no shade. But yeah, so second day from the off, it was just like techno, boring techno in my opinion. Like I love when there's still lyrics to the techno, when there's like songs that we all know and love, and we're technoing them up. That I can get on board with because I can still sing a little bit. But it's when it's just like simple uncha, 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 it doesn't do it for me. And I don't know why. It's just not for me. I do partially think the perfect time and place for that kind of music is when you're drugged up. Now, I wouldn't know, but I know that a lot of techno parties, once again, the vibe is drugs. Okay. So I think that also helps. A lot of people get by. I wasn't on drugs. I don't do drugs. So I think that also maybe didn't help here. But yeah, but I mean, my friend and like the group, they were living, so I was there. But I said to my friend, like, I think from the off, I was kind of dissociating the whole time we were there. Like, I didn't have anything to say. I wasn't speaking to anybody really, bar my friend. Kind of felt like the group didn't care if I lived or died, to be honest. So I was like, you know what? No, actually, Kate, get along with Kate really well. Me and Kate went to see Jojo Siwa at 6, or like 6:30, I think, actually. But like up to 6, like we got there at like 3 for like those 3 hours. Like I was just like, I was hot, I was sweating, probably burning. And I was just like, okay, we'll go from one techno thing to the other. Like I just don't think the acts on the Sunday were as good for me. And I think that's one thing I'm gonna say. Like, don't feel like you need to go for the full weekend. Maybe just pick like one of the days that has more of the acts that you're into. Because I think that's what I might do in future. Like if I go again, I don't know if I'll go for both days. I think I'll just see which day has the better acts. So there is that. In hindsight, I wasn't that bothered about the Sunday, but I will say I was intrigued by JoJo Siwa, and best believe it was an interesting experience. So me and Kate, which was one of the girls from the group, we were the ones that went to go see JoJo Siwa out of intrigue. The rest of the group once again went to another techno thing. Not my vibe. Right. So we went to see JoJo Siwa. She only had a 15-minute set because realistically, what songs does she have? Not many. So she sang Karma, obviously. Then I'm pretty sure she sang another song about exes. I don't know what it is, whether it may be like an unreleased thing, like one that she's coming out with soon. Who knows? So she sang that. Then, guys, I'm not kidding. She went on like a 10-minute rant. She spoke for about 10 fucking minutes. There's a clip that I caught of her just being like, hey, my mum's straight. And I just go, okay. And it was very random. She was kind of talking about the public perception of her and like how Americans work in terms of English people. And she was like, I can say the C-U-N-T word. She was like, I can say the C-U-N-T word. And she says it. Because I'm in London. I've got a free hall pass or something. Because apparently they don't say that in America. And it's a bit more normalized in the UK, I think. Who knows? So yeah, she ranted for about 10 minutes. And then she did like a little reprise of Karma at the very end. Wild experience. And then after that, we went to join back up with the group. Once again, they were just at this like another techno thing. This other person joined the group. I'm not going to give any names. And like he was kind of like straight away, kind of like grilling me on my life choices and like why I wasn't living in London and like I don't know, just like I felt a bit like interviewed by him, and I was like, meh, I'm hot, I'm tired, I've been here for about 4 or 5 hours. I think it's time for me to go. And I'm not one for like long goodbyes. Like I'm very like French exit, Irish goodbye kind of vibe. Like I love just dipping. I'll say bye, but I'm not making a big deal. So I turn to Liam, I go, I think I'm gonna go. I think it's my time to leave. So I did just that. I gave him a quick hug. I was like, I'll see you back at the hotel because he was coming back to mine anyway and staying with me. So I was like, I'll see you back at the hotel, and I left. Like I said, like most of the group that we were with. I don't think they really cared if I lived or died, to be honest. So I did just dip. Sorry, girls and guys, if you're watching. But yeah, I left. It took me about 5-10 minutes to try and find the exit. And then I went all the way back to my hotel in a skirt all alone. It was quite an interesting experience. But I will say, I don't recall getting many stares. Like on the way there, I know there was a guy when we were walking to the station. He was like, that looks like a skirt, like to his friend. it was like talking about the skirt. It was like, that looks like a skirt. I wonder if he's wearing a skirt. And I just go, it is a skirt. And like Liam was dying because I was a bit pissed by this point. So I was just like, I don't give a fuck. I am wearing a skirt. And what? You know? But yeah, overall, good experience. I think I've learned from this experience, though. I don't think I'll do 2 days next time unless both days have got really good acts that I'm interested in. And I also think I might try and go with like a different group of people that are more into like my kind of music, because I've said this before, Liam and I's music taste are vastly different. So there is that. But Liam obviously stayed all the way till the end and watched Jessie Ware, loved her apparently. Although he did say that the actual crowd was a bit dead. And yeah, he said that it was fine. I didn't miss out on too much. Like Rita Ora was apparently a bit interesting. But yeah, overall, good experience. There's positives and negatives there. But I think it's definitely one of those things that like you kind of like find out after doing it once what you want to do next time. And I do think I'd be down to do more festivals. Like I would love to go to Coachella, to be honest. But I also think, like I said in a podcast recently, I think Coachella's turned a bit cringe now, which is kind of sad. But yeah, so that was my mighty hoopla experience. And then the following day, I had another day in London. So I had a very chilled morning. I think we went to Weatherspoons, me and Liam. Or maybe that was the day prior, I'm not sure. We had a very chilled day. We met up with Amy, another girl that I haven't seen in a while, but went to uni with. We had a coffee. We chatted for about 3 hours, had a big catch up. That was lovely. And then Liam went home. So I had an evening in the hotel all alone. So that was nice. After a long weekend of socializing, I needed it. So I had a lovely evening. I watched Ice Age. I had a Chinese. And then I came home. And I will say, by that time, I was ready to come home, to be honest. Like 5 days in the big smoke, it's enough for me, right? Which is interesting because when I lived down London, I absolutely loved it, but now I could not imagine living down there. It's not the life for me. I like the slow, easy, nice life. I don't like the hustle. Like I like a bit of hustle and bustle because realistically, I still live in a city. Like I live in the center of Leeds. Like I'm not afraid of hustle and bustle, but London is like another breed of hustle and bustle. And I will say one thing that I'll never get used to is people running for tubes. Like, I understand we've got places to be, but I think calm the fuck down. Like, I don't want to jete onto a fucking tube as the doors are closing. Like that's some anxiety that I don't need in my life. And I also just think like, give it 2 minutes. The next one will be here. Like they're very often. Like you don't need to be running, barreling towards the tubes and knocking people over to try and get on it. Like, oh God, stresses me out. So that was one thing that I was like, this isn't for me. And it's always a bit of a culture shock when I go back down because I'm just reminded of all the things that I didn't like about London when I lived there. But yeah. So overall, good experience, good weekend. Glad I went, right? Now, moving on from that, I want to talk about this past weekend that's just happened. When I'm recording this, this is Sunday, right? So on Friday, it's New Music Friday. An abundance of music has come out, okay? An abundance of music that I think is really fun for us to talk about. First of all, Ray. Now, guys, if you don't know of Ray yet, get to fucking know, because I know that Escapism did really well, and I know that Prada did really well, and I understand that, but I think a lot of you are missing out on some top tier music content, because the whole album of hers, My 21st Century Blues, it was my top album of the year last year. It is an impeccable work of art, okay? Every track, incredible lyrics, interesting production, never the same, like never done before, you know, like, interesting stuff. Like it's not your generic stuff. Like she's offering something fun and unique. And I'm obsessed with her. So if you've not listened to Ray yet, I don't know what you're playing at, or if you've just listened to Escapism, I feel like, do you know, in Drag Race when they're like, if you're not watching Untucked, you're only getting half the story. I feel like that's what I'm doing here. If you only listen to Escapism, you're only getting half the story here, people. So she released Genesis, a 7-minute song. First of all, kind of unheard of, right? In terms of like this day and age with TikTok and like the short consumption of like music and whatever else, like content in general, I feel like the emphasis these days is for the most part on short things. Although I would argue It also kind of isn't, because some of my videos that I realistically on YouTube, I upload pretty long ass content. And a lot of you guys really fuck with the long ass content, as do I. Like, there's nothing better to me than at least a 20-minute video. Like, but I would say more towards 30 minutes. I want 30 to 40 minutes of content at a time. Like, I want to sit down and I want to watch it from beginning to end. That's my happy place. You know? I'm not a TikToker. I don't scroll. It bugs me. It hurts my brain. I just don't do it. Right? So all that being said, I do still think it's a bit unheard of for an artist to come out with a 7-minute track. I think it takes balls to do that. But I also think at that point, I think it almost proves to the consumer that the person isn't necessarily in it for radio play or commercial success. I think when it's past maybe the 5-minute mark, I think we can kind of say, you know what, they're in this for the art of it all. And what's really smart about Ray's new song, so she brought out Genesis, it's a 7-minute track. She brought out the 7-minute version, and then she created like an EP style thing where it's like the 7-minute version, and then each part, because it's kind of made up of 3 parts, and it has like 3 distinct vibes, and it kind of takes you along the story. The lyrics are incredible. I will say, if you are typically someone who prefers like shorter numbers, I'd probably say Genesis Part 2 would be more of your bag, because I'd say that's more of like the more typical commercially accepted vibe. I think Genesis Part 3 is jazzy, and it's like kind of like scatty and like fun and uplifting. So if you enjoy that, great. And then I think the first part of Genesis is more like introspective, very like acknowledging things about yourself, hard hitting storytelling, and like a lovely opener to the track. Like I personally will go for the 7-minute every time, and it never feels like 7 minutes. Like I would almost say to you guys, give the 7-minute version a chance, and I can guarantee it will not feel like 7 minutes. It flies by, and it's like every lyric is a bar. All the production choices are impeccable, constantly switching it up. Like, you never know what to expect, which is something I look for in music. Like, I love songs that like keep you guessing throughout. Overall, I can't sing enough praises to Ray and to Genesis. The music video, not to scream in your ears right now, but the music video, oh my fucking god, people, the music video. She's an independent artist, and she's doing much, much better visuals than a lot of these hoes out here, right? An independent artist doing the level of visual that she gives us for this 7-minute number is absolute lunacy, in my opinion. She deserves all the success. And I'm not afraid to say that I obviously did. I was a fan of Ray from when she started the era for my 21st Century Blues. Like, she dropped Hard Out Here, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I've heard of Ray. And along with that song, she kind of dropped the whole like preface of what the album was going to give, and like how she struggled throughout the music industry. So I only really listened to Hard Out Here being like, oh, well, I'm intrigued in the story and like what we're talking about. And then lo and behold, I fell in love with the music. And then since Hard Out Here, hook, line, and sinker. So I was there for the whole era. And I'm really pleased to say that I almost feel on the right side of history, to be honest, because I think Ray's going to be onto big things, mark my words. So all in all, Genesis is a banger. 7 minutes, which is, I think, so ballsy. It stands for a lot. I think she speaks about a lot of things that a lot of people can relate to, you know, like social media, which is things obviously I've spoken about on here. Social media, substance abuse, alcoholism, uh body image. Hello, she ticks all the boxes. But at the same time, like, yes, we talk about deep topics, but the song is infectious. Like, it's catchy as fuck. It's really cool. So give Genesis a try, first and foremost. Then next, I want to talk about Sabri, right? Y'all know I am a Sabrina fan. So obviously she's having insane success as of late, right? Espresso is breaking records. It's almost, I'd say, maybe the song of the year, right? If that song doesn't get any sort of recognition at the next year Grammys or whatever the fuck, rigged. right? I don't even care if she wins. She needs to be nominated for a few of these things here, right? Truly, she is making main pop girl music moves. I'm living, okay, which I love to see it for her. But recently, last week, she brought out Please, Please, Please. Now, guys, I'd been seeing on Twitter everyone that doesn't know of Sabrina, which is quite an interesting thing to see. Like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, she's gonna just kind of give us this same espresso vibe over and over." But I don't think I think what you guys are missing is like Sabrina's been here and she's been giving us versatility. And I think that's one thing that I've noticed recently is like you can really tell who like the people that only know Sabrina from emails I can't send or even espresso. Because I think a lot of people are underestimating her in terms of like what she can give. And they think that now that she's found obviously success with espresso, that she's just going to stick to that sound. Well, babes, no, that's not what Sabrina does. Like, she's explored sound, she's explored vibes. Like, I'm sorry, one of her songs that I will die on this hill of that deserved espresso success is Honeymoon Fades. That song is gorgeous and it's more like an R&B track, right? So, all that to say, a lot of people on Twitter had a lot to say, which, guys, I'm back on Twitter and I'm hating it, so I'm probably going to delete it again soon. It's so fucking toxic. But I'll probably speak about that in an episode, because I kind of want to do an episode talking about, like, parasocial relationships, and, like, I feel like Twitter and Stan Twitter kind of, like, leaned into that, so I think that might be a topic that we hit on in another episode. But yeah, so a lot of people on Stan Twitter are talking about how, like, they think she's kind of like this one trick pony. No, no, no. So I knew when Please, Please, Please was going to come out, I was like, she's going to give us something vastly different here. And I will say this, she's definitely leaning into like this kind of 50s, 60s aesthetic. Obviously, Espresso was more of like the fun, upbeat kind of sound that's like more funky 50s, 60s, right? But the Please, Please, Please side of things, first of all, I love the song, love the visual. She never misses once again with visuals. I think she's another one that's really doing it in terms of visuals this era, like working it out. Okay, Espresso was that bitch. Please, 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 with Barry Keoghan in the fucking video is insane to me. Like the song is about her essentially saying like she's the only one essentially that thinks she has good taste, and she's been kind of proven wrong constantly up to now. And obviously now with Barry Keoghan and like this new thing and like how big their relationship has gotten and how everyone now knows of them together, I think it was so smart of her to like bring this song out, which is like her saying, please, please, please don't prove them right again. I can't take it again. Like, heartbreak is one thing, my ego is another. Like, my ego can't take it, which I think is so slay. And also, I'll say this, like, another obsessive Sabrina lyric for me has been unlocked, which obviously, if you guys know of emails I can't send, the fork reference. Hello, that's the one. But for me in this song, the ceiling fan, same kind of vibe. She's like, I know you're craving some fresh air, because she's essentially telling this person to stay inside and like don't show their face, so then the public won't see them together and they won't pair them together because she's worried about how it might end. This kind of vibe, right? And she essentially is like, stay inside, it's fine. Like, I know you're craving some fresh air, but like the ceiling fan is super nice, like so nice. And I think it's incredible. So overall, love her quirky lyrics. Love the song. It's definitely different to Espresso. I don't know if it's going to have the same success as Espresso does, because I think a lot of people were hoping for like another bop. And it's definitely a bop, but it's more like a subtle, soft 50s kind of bop. Now, I kind of related it to, you know, Little Mix's Love Me Like You, that kind of had that like 50s, like swinging vibe to it. I think it's almost that kind of vibe, which makes sense because I think this era in general is giving like very 50s housewife, kind of like Don't Worry Darling vibes, if you've seen that movie. Obviously without all the fuckery, but actually no, kind of with the fuckery involved, because it's kind of giving this like glamorous aesthetic with like a bit of edge and a bit of quirkiness about it. So yeah, overall, I love the song, I love the video. I'm excited for the album, which comes out just after my birthday. So guys, let me tell you this, right? This year, I'm going to have an impeccable birthday week, right? Because I'm seeing Spirited Away live in theaters on the 16th. the 17th, which is my birthday, I'm at the Eras tour, which, by the way, guys, I'll just say this. I am filming a video of the process, but I have started making my Eras tour costume, and you guys, I'm afraid I think I'm going to slay it. Like, it's taking me a long time. Like, I've already been doing it for maybe 11 hours, I think. And I've got maybe a quarter of one of the pieces done. But guys, it's going to be really fun and cute, and I'm excited about it. So that's also something to look out for if you're interested. I will be putting that up on my second channel whenever the Eras tour comes around, because I'm hoping my outfit will be done by then. But guys, I'm very excited for it. So that's that. I'm seeing the Eras tour on my fucking birthday. Okay, so if you're at the Eras tour on the 17th, shout out to you and yours. I might see you there, right? And then, obviously, fucking Sabrina's new album comes out, what, 6 days later? Oh my God. I feel like she's doing it for me. So obviously I've pre-ordered the album on vinyl. I've pre-ordered the picture disc. I've got my espresso little 7-inch. I've got the Genesis 7-inch. And then, guys, we have to talk about Brat. Okay, so the next one that's been released same week, Brat by Charlie. Okay, now this is having a whole moment on social media, which is kind of irritating me. I think it's great for Charlie, and I think it's going to be great for the success of the record. But boy, oh boy, am I sick of seeing people put Brat on things that are green. Boy, oh boy, am I sick of it, right? I'm sorry not to be a Debbie Downer and not to poop on your parade, but I don't need to see more green cocks with Brat on them. I don't. Okay, so Brat's been released. I did pre-order the vinyl. I got the 360 vinyl, which is like kind of I think it's a picture disc in the vinyl. It's a bit different, but I will say, guys, the trauma of undoing that vinyl. If you got that same vinyl, you'll know what I'm talking about. Which, first of all, I want to say this. I'm all for people doing fun things with their vinyls, because I don't need a boring vinyl. I think at the very least, every vinyl should be a gatefold. Right? I want, like, for the money, because they're not cheap. They're like 30 quid. Most of them. Maybe like 25. Some of them. But, like, they're not cheap by any means. And I think at the very least, we can make them gatefold. And give me a fucking image. Give me a poster. Give me a lyric sheet. Give me something, right? So I will say, I really appreciate that Charlie did something very different with this vinyl. Like, it's something I've never seen before. So, like, first and foremost, there's like a sticker closing it, which I guess is good for the people that don't open them. Like, perfect, safe, right? But I'm someone that opens them, likes to play them. Like, I'm not precious about my vinyls. I mean, I'm precious, but like, I want to use them. I'm paying the money. I want to use them, you know? So there's a little sticker that I really like the aesthetic of that covers it, which is fine. I can get on board with that. You just cut it, stick it round, not a problem, right? Then past that, in order to get to the booklet and to get to the vinyl, which is on both of either side of the thing, of the gatefold, you have to then, do you know, like when you get an Amazon parcel and you have to tear that strip of stuff off to get into it? That. You have to tear at your vinyl to get into it, which is very not fun for me. Like, I felt like I was destroying it, which I low-key kind of did. I kind of mangled it. But you have to do that, which was not ideal. I will say the picture disc is really slay. The lyric sheet is super fun. It almost gives like some sort of like scientific document, like it's on some really cool paper. The booklet is really fun, nice quality. Overall, I'm pleased with my purchase, and I think it's very unique and fun. But the trauma of having to tear that stuff off was killing me. Okay, I will say that. So wish they'd have maybe rethought that. Like, fair enough, have that aesthetic, but I don't think we need to make that the way we get into the vinyl, you know? But overall, the album, I will say I listened to it firstly when it was like the beginning of the morning. So that's never a good time for me to listen to new music, especially like the aesthetic of Brat, which is kind of like clubby, you know, almost this like techno vibe that I've been talking about, that I kind of have like an acquired taste for. It's kind of that. So initially I was like, it's fun, it's cute, I enjoy it, but I'm not like living. But then I listened to it again yesterday when it was sunny and I was like just pottering around cleaning my flat, and guys, it hits. It hits. And it's almost the perfect kind of like club bangers that I look for. Like, we've got lyrics, we've got bars, we've got insane production, we've got the builds, we've got the drops, you know, she's got everything. So I fully support. Ooh, guys. Now this is someone who I don't know much about. I don't know much about her. I don't know much about her music, but I want to talk about Gracie Abrams for 1 second. Because first of all, she obviously was on my timeline because she's got a Taylor feature on her album, so best believe I'll be listening to the album. But on top of that, she brought out a song called Risk a while ago, right? She also, I'm pretty sure she brought out a song called Close to You, which I've not got around to listening to yet, but she brought out a song called Risk, and I'm obsessed with that song. So I think I'm now a Gracie Abrams stan. But the main thing that I wanted to speak about in terms of Gracie was I think a lot of people talk about her being a Nepo baby. And this is one thing I want to talk about. Because I feel like this Nepo baby thing kind of like gets thrown around a lot in this day and age. But I think the thing for me is someone can be a Nepo baby, but can still be wildly untalented. You know, like, I think fair enough. I do imagine like having a famous parent that obviously gives you some help there, right? It gives you a name to stand upon, but I almost think it maybe makes it a bit more like it almost gives more pressure. I think like if you flop hard, and like it's like a disgrace to your family name. You know, I almost think that like being a Nepo baby, if you're not talented, you will flop. Because you've already got the eyes on you. So I think, like, just because Gracie Abrams might be a Nepo baby, if she wasn't talented, she wouldn't be successful, quite frankly. Like, she might have moderate success, just from the name, I suppose, but, like, she wouldn't be successful. Like, you can't just be successful because of your name. You have to have some sort of talent. And I just want to say that. Because I've got nothing against Gracie, like, and like I said, I don't really know much about her, so I've got no reason to be biased. But like, just based off this one song, I'm like, she's got talent. So like, I don't like that people are like, the Nepo baby thing is really working in her favor. Like, she's got a Taylor feature. Shut the fuck up. She's talented. And I swear, didn't she open for Taylor for some of the shows? I don't know. So there's that. And also, update, still obsessed with Billy's album. Still obsessed. The Chihiro video didn't do it for me. It was okay. I think a lot of Billy's videos can go a bit over my head. Like, I think she has a certain like simplisticness about her videos, which I'm sure a lot of people love. But I think unless you really know what she was trying to go for, I think it's kind of hard to read into it. And like, I don't always like a super subliminal video. Like, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's nicely shot, like I enjoyed it, but it's not like a video that I think is like revolutionary. Whereas like, for example, Ariana's video, now this is another one, guys. The girlies were bringing out all the videos this past Friday. But the Boy Is Mine video, oh my god. Penn Badgley, what? Insane. Like, she got Penn Badgley, we got acting, we got costumes, we got budget, we got storyline, we got fucking Catwoman, people. Overall, absolutely incredible. I watched Please, 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 then I watched Genesis by Ray, then I watched Boy Is Mine, and I was like, what? These girls? This is why I say the men aren't doing it like the girls. They're not, I'm sorry. What man is giving us visuals like these? I'll wait. Maybe Troye Sivan. Like, Troye Sivan gave us some good visuals with, like, Rush and Got Me Started and stuff. But still, not on the same level, I'm afraid. It's quite simple, you know? And I love it. I love it for the girls. I really do. I think I might leave this episode here, because I know I said I was going to do some unpopular opinions, but I reckon I could probably do that for a whole ass episode. So, maybe look out for part 2 of this, and we'll do unpopular opinions next time. Because this has already been like almost an hour long. So I don't want to make this too long. Because I feel like if I get into unpopular opinions, then it'll take me too long. And I've got a bunch. So I might ask for some more unpopular opinions and then just do a big one. And like really go in. You know? So yeah. I'm going to leave this episode here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I went in on my like kind of mighty hoopla chat. So which I didn't expect to, but there you go. If you're interested in like kind of how Mighty Hoopla works, that's how it works in my opinion. Oh, Portaloos. Horrible experience, but I think that's kind of universal. Don't love Portaloos. But yeah, love yous. See you next time with another podcast episode. See you next Sunday. Goodbye.